This is weird.
From the land of conjurers, flying through the internet to your device like a UAP, hauntingly unexplained and downright weird, this is the Witching Hours, and we are ready to take off in the flash of an eye. Good evening to one and all, wherever and whenever you are listening to this program. I am Frosty, and joining me, as always, is the medium Ginny Lee. How are you doing, Ginny?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
It's Monday. We've already seen that sentiment in chat.
Yeah.
It's Monday. We're here.
It's Monday.
Monday. We have a great show though, so it's a good Monday. It's a good Monday.
Witching Hours always makes Monday better.
It does. It does. You know, the Thursday nights was nice because we were getting ready to head into the weekend, but since we moved to Mondays, it does make Monday that little. It gives us something to look forward to at the end of the day. So I do appreciate that. Hopefully you guys do too. And welcome in, one and all. So glad that you could join us tonight. We have a great show for you tonight. We're going to have Alyson on to talk about the moon phases, and we are going to have Andrew Warburton on to talk about fairies. So we get to talk a little bit more about something we haven't got to talk a lot about on this show. So looking forward to that tonight. We also have some information coming your way tonight. We have a special video, I think, that we're going to play tonight. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else is going on. Well, we're quickly coming around to the Haunted Travels weekend.
We are.
Yeah, I was looking at the calendar for that. I'm going to bring it up right now, actually, because time is sneaking up right now. We're getting ready to hit October.
A week from is it a week from this weekend?
A week from Friday. Yeah, so it's coming up really quickly. So if you got tickets to the Haunted Travels weekend in Gettysburg with Sam Baltrusis, Ginny and I are going to be there as well, doing some fun stuff there Saturday night. There's going to be all kinds of tours, ghost tours, and spooky things to do in Gettysburg. And this will be our first time there. So
yeah, it's our first time in Gettysburg. Very exciting.
Yeah, so we're moving right along, and a lot of good things to look forward to, and some more, which we'll talk about tonight. Well, are you ready for some news, Ginny?
Hopefully it's all right. It's okay this week.
Well, first off, as always, I would like to let you all know, thank you for joining us for the Witching Hours. It's so great always to have you guys here, hang out with us in chat. If you enjoy the show, be sure to subscribe, click the like buttons, leave us a review if you can. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere else that you watch or listen. And we are on just about every podcast site that I can think of. And if we're not, let us know and I'll get us put on there. And if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell and all those wonderful things, because the reviews and the likes and the subs and all that stuff really do help other people find the show, just to make this a bigger, more weirder community. Or would that be more weird? I guess it'd be more weird community.
More weirder.
more weirder community.
The weirdest.
We can shoot for that. That's a goal, to be the weirdest community. For sure.
Weirdliest.
All right. Story number one tonight. Trump set to declassify some records.
Yeah, whatever.
More than 88 years after Amelia Earhart disappeared over the Pacific Ocean, an attempt to circumnavigate the globe in her Lockheed Martin Model 10 Electra, the question of what happened to her continues to remain to be one of the biggest mysteries of the modern age.
Yeah.
But numerous expeditions and all these things have never really led to much information or answers for that question. But this may change after U.S. President Donald Trump announced that he was going to be ordering his administration to declassify secret government records concerning Amelia Earhart's disappearance. Not the Epstein files, but Amelia Earhart's disappearance.
Look over here. Look over here.
Yeah. The announcement has come as something of a surprise, mainly because it wasn't clear that the U.S. government had classified documents concerning the case in the first place. Whether these will actually help solve the mystery remains unclear, and definitely does. But I saw that we were declassifying some documents. I got my hopes up. I'm interested in the Amelia Earhart case. I don't know at this point what evidence could be left.
Yeah.
We had a story not too long ago about a new radio. Like they were able to get the original radio and see if they could figure some stuff out with that. So we'll, if any updates on that, I'll bring it up on the news. But there we go for story number 1. Story number 2, I thought was interesting. Denmark bans drone flights after drone sightings at military bases. So essentially, Denmark's having some of the issues that we were having back in the spring, where there's all kinds of drones and stuff over their military installations. So Denmark ordered a ban on civil drone flights on Sunday.
Wow.
This happens, as I said, after drones were observed at several military facilities, and they were worried about it because they're getting ready to have some foreign dignitaries and stuff in the area. They also had drone sightings in the week that forced Denmark to shut down airports, including 4-hour closure of Copenhagen Airport on Monday.
Wow.
Denmark had called the drones part of a hybrid attack. It has stopped short of saying definitively who it believes is responsible, but Prime Minister Frederiksen has suggested it could be Moscow, calling Russia the primary country that poses a threat to European security.
Jeez.
So Denmark will host EU leaders on Wednesday, followed by a summit on Thursday of the wider 47-member European political community. And so they're kind of wanting to make sure that none of that stuff is up in the air during that period of time. So this is why I don't understand the problem with drones. Can't we just shoot them down?
I mean, we're willing to shoot other things we don't know what they are.
Yeah. Like we saw the Hellfire missile like glancing off of a UFO.
We just talked about that last
week. We
have
these little drones hovering over military facilities, and like we don't do anything about it. I just don't. Are they worried that they're going to cause wreckage and like people get hurt from the falling drones? There's just so many of them, or what? I don't know.
I don't know.
I would just imagine like during the Cold War, if the Soviet Union was sending some stuff over our country.
Not over U.S. airspace. Can't shoot stuff down over U.S. airspace. Yeah.
We can't shoot stuff down over U.S. airspace. I can guarantee you if it was the Cold War and the Russians had sent MiGs over California, we're shooting them some of bitches down.
Well, I think what you just said is probably why, though. They don't want to cause, wreckage falling down onto things.
Yeah. It just seems like a weird problem that for some reason they have a hard time getting.
Yeah. I mean, none of it makes a whole lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. No, I guess it's a new age, new rules. And I mean, and like you said, it makes sense. CMC said, like, you don't want fiery debris raining down on, grocery store parking lots and Target centers everywhere, so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Story number 3, a cursed stolen brick returns to Old North Church. Someone returned a piece of Boston's historic Old North Church with an ominous note. And the church has since had its own problems. Staff believe the cursed brick was stolen during a 2023 restoration project, only to mysteriously reappear in March inside an anonymous package from San Jose, California.
Wow.
You can't trust anything from California. The item arrived with the haunting message.
Excuse me. Pardon you.
My husband took this from the crypt. We have had a string of bad luck, and we want to return the brick. Intrigued and a bit spooked, the staff placed it in a glass case inside the famous crypt, which covers over 1,100 parishioners and several Revolutionary War figures. Since the stone's return, there have been a couple of unexplained electrical outages, leading to some wonder if the brick's bad luck is real. Labeled the cursed brick, it remains on display for visitors to see. Lisa Griffin from Atlanta, Georgia, asked the questions during this report. Why did he take the brick, and what was the bad luck? And the church's website calls it a lesson in karma.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know if it's karma.
Things
if it's still
don't belong to you. Yeah,
so,
if it's still causing trouble.
So we'll see. Don't be taking stuff from haunted places and taking it home.
Nope.
Might follow you there.
Not a good idea.
And that was the news.
Nice.
All right. What do we want to do first, Jenny? Do we want to go over the moon phases, or do we want to play our little video?
I think you should play your video first.
All right. Well, we're going to play a video for you guys. So we're going to get ready to start a video here in just a second. And here we go.
It's a teaser.
All right, there we go. Teamwork Takeover 2026.
What? But where is it?
I don't know. Pay attention to the videos. Maybe you can figure it out. We'll have another one next week. So
some little breadcrumbs.
Yeah, we're going to have some teasers, and we're going to officially announce where it's going to be on our Halloween show. So we got a few weeks to go, 4 weeks, I think. And our Halloween show, we will announce where it's going to be. But yeah, if you figure out beforehand, feel free to put your thoughts or guesses in chat or in over on Discord, and we'll go ahead and head there. All right, Jenny, let's go ahead and bring Alyson on.
Alyson!
For the moon phase update for, believe it or not, October. Like, how the heck are we there already?
I know.
Let's just for a second talk about how cute Alyson looks with her fairy wings.
What are you talking about? They're always there.
Yeah. They're not fake wings. Those are the real things. She just hides them under her tank top.
Were there clues in the video?
There was a clue in the video.
Was some clues in the video.
Okay, so you asked me when you decided or when you found the location, you asked me, do I want to know beforehand or do I want to guess with everybody else? Don't tell me beforehand because I can't keep a secret.
Everybody
I'll just tell everybody. I'll be so excited about it.
Yeah.
So don't tell me. I want to try to guess.
Okay.
It's hard enough for me to keep a secret, so I think we'll be okay here. We got to get through like 3 more weeks.
You've known for a while, so
I've known for a while, and I talk about it too much. So
that's the only way. Just don't.
It's
talk
like
about
killing me. It's like killing me not saying what it is. So.
He hasn't spilled the beans yet. That's why he's been making all these little videos because it's yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Alyson, what's going on for October? Please tell us something good.
I can't believe we're in October, first of all.
Yeah,
I know.
We say that every time, though.
Yes.
The thing that is jumping out at me the most about October is Pluto is going direct October 13th. So the middle of the month, Pluto's been direct. I mean, Pluto's been retrograde since May, I think. And slowly the other planets went retrograde along with it. So we had all these planets retrograde at the same time. And now they're going to slowly start going direct throughout the rest of the year, which is only 3 months, which is so crazy. So the reason that is jumping out at me the most is because Pluto's the planet of transformation. And we're heading into fall. We just had the fall equinox. And I mean, we witnessed the leaves changing and how beautiful it is. And then we also witness like the dying of it too. And I think that, I don't know, that's just really jumping out at me. And with the analogy that I said last month with the difference between Libra and Scorpio, which half of this month, the sun is in Libra. And the second half of this month, the sun is in Scorpio. So October is divided into these two very distinct, different energies, but both representing fall and transformation and the changing of the seasons. And so again, that analogy is like when you walk into the store and you see you got the fall leaves and the orange and the yellows and the reds on one aisle with all the cutesy stuff, the cutesy Halloween decorations and the pumpkins. And then you've got the other aisle with the ghosts and the spooky and the black and the scary things. And so those are the very, very much the two energies of this month, but they both represent change and transformation. So having Pluto going direct and transformation moving forward this month, that's just the biggest thing that's jumping out at me this month is that, like, yes, transformation is beautiful because when you get to the other side, you have the beautiful colors and 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 whatever it is that you're evolving into, that's wonderful and beautiful too, hopefully. But then when you're actually going through it, it's hard and it's difficult and it's painful and it's ugly and it's not pretty and it's not beautiful. So I just see those two things like represented this month. But where we are right now, we're in the middle of our second Virgo moon cycle, which kind of is shifting the energy of the moon cycles for the next few years until 2027. So normally the new moon and the full moon is like they're paired with each other specifically, like the opposites that balance each other out. So now it's just going to be like shifted one zodiac sign over. So like, for example, with this Virgo moon cycle, we had a Virgo new moon with a Aries full moon, which will be October 6th, which are very different energies, but normally it's Libra and Aries that are the ones that balance each other out. So everything is just kind of shifted one little degree over. And
how do you think that might affect us?
I don't know. This happened before a couple years ago, but it was only for a couple months. We had two Aries new moons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We had two Capricorn full moons, which shifted it back. So I don't know what the experience is going to be like for the next couple of years.
We're just going to feel like a little wonky,
I guess, kind of like lopsided. I don't know. So right now we're in the middle of the moon cycle. We'll have our full moon October 6th, and that again is in Aries. And Aries is the fire, the spring. We've talked a lot about Aries energy this year. And so what I'm looking forward to for this full moon is burning away all of the stuff that if stuff came up for the eclipses for you, if this year has just kicked your butt, I mean, Aries full moon is a good time to just burn it all away, let it go, let your leaves change and fall off, and just be done with it. Burn it all away. I mean, Aries full moon can also highlight something that you want to start and begin some sort of new thing in your life, but usually that means you need to let go of something first before you can move into the next thing. So
yeah.
Our big full moon, October 6th, Pluto's going direct that next week, October 13th. Venus moves into Libra October 13th, that same day as well, which Venus and Libra go hand in hand. Libra is ruled by Venus. So hopefully this, I kind of feel like Libra has been overlooked this month because of that second Virgo full moon. But then we will have Venus moving into Libra on the 13th and our new moon in Libra on the 21st. But on the same day, the sun moves into Scorpio. So it's kind of almost like we skipped Libra season. The sun moved into Libra in September, but we didn't have that new moon to kind of usher us into that moon cycle. So, and I mean, Libra is harmony and balance and peace. So I think it's going to be important for us to recognize this Libra energy. And again, that beauty of the transformation as well that we're talking about with the fall leaves changing.
Mm-hmm.
But the end of the month, the sun moves into Scorpio. That's putting us into the Halloween spooky vibes. Mercury and Mars are already hanging out in Scorpio. And then for Halloween, on the last day of the month, we have a waxing gibbous Pisces moon, which I think might bring more like a fantasy element to Halloween, like the dressing up part and the playing pretend kind of energy. I know we probably want a Scorpio moon on Halloween, but I think Pisces is a good second.
Yeah,
that
dreamy energy. That sounds fun.
So really, I think this entire month, I think that we should focus on Libra and that finding balance between the the beauty of transformation and the difficult, painful part of transformation, and finding out that middle ground and where you stand, and hopefully to find some peace and balance and fun with it. And we can have fun with the spooky vibes. We can have fun with the difficult things. So I think it's just about finding that balance.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you say
You don't sound so
Yeah.
sure, Jenny.
There's the
But remember, we have the Aries full moon. Just burn all of those feelings
Yeah.
that you just burn all of that October 6th.
burn it.
Let it go. I mean, the Virgo eclipse kicked my butt big time, and I'm ready to burn it all away.
There's the Jim Gaffigan jokes about fall and look at the foliage, and it like all your whole October message reminds me of that joke, because he's like, people are always talking about how beautiful the leaves are and they're falling, but how do the leaves feel? They're dying and falling to the ground, and they're probably like, and like that's exactly your whole October right there. It's like, oh, it's beautiful and wonderful, but
Exactly. I'll have to look up that clip.
yes, it's good. It's real good. Look at the foliage. All right, Alyson, thank you.
Thank you. I'm excited
Thank
for
you,
tonight's
Alyson.
episode.
Yes, thank you,
Thanks, guys.
Alyson. Bye.
All right. Well, that was great. So that we got some news coming up for October. So pay attention as we move through the month and the balancing and all of that stuff. Definitely something to keep an eye on, because it's coming along so quickly. I mean, that's the thing. I can't believe it's going to be October. I was just trying to figure out the summer. And there we go. Andrew Warburton grew up in Bristol, England. He received his master's in creative writing at Bath Spa University and has published poems and short stories. He lived in Massachusetts for many years and now lives in Rhode Island. He is the author of 2 books of American fairy folklore, New England Fairies and New York Fairies. Please welcome to the show, Andrew Warburton. How are you doing, Andrew?
Hi, Frosty. Hi, Jenny. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yes, we're so excited to talk to you again after we talked to you very briefly at the Paracon.
Yeah.
In Crosby High School gym.
And the hot gym back in July.
It was hot and noisy.
Yes, hot and noisy.
I was going to say fans and microphones and crowds. It worked. I think everybody enjoyed it. So it was super great to be able to talk to you.
We had a lot of fun regardless.
Yeah, so we're excited.
It was really good.
So we're excited to be able to talk again tonight. So I guess, the first place to start, we talked a little bit about this before, but for those who are kind of hanging out tonight, can you kind of give us a brief introduction and to what got you to start researching and looking into fairies?
Yeah. So, well, my family would take me on vacations, or we would call it holidays. We would go on holiday to Cornwall in the southwest of England. And I remember, I guess, being very enchanted by all the kind of pixie stories that you hear when you're in Cornwall. So some of the stories is, that the pixies live in the mines and that they knock on the walls of the mines to kind of lead miners to a new load of coal. Or the miners would throw a piece of the corner of their pasty into the mine as a kind of offering to the pixies. And I guess I was very little, and I remember my dad telling me that he'd bought my mum a pixie, because people in Cornwall, or when you visit Cornwall, you kind of come away with these little figurines that you wear around your neck or in your pocket.
Okay.
It's just like a lucky charm. And I remember him telling me he'd bought my mum one, but my mum, I guess, had lost it. So, which is bad, I guess.
Yeah.
Very, very unlucky. So I remember buying her a pixie. So that was where I first learned about any kind of fairy lore from the British Isles. And then, I guess, when I grew up a little bit, was like 11 years old, I went through a phase where I just like became obsessed with elves because I read Lord of the Rings. So it's like that, it's, you know, I became obsessed with elves. Would read anything with elves in them. But those elves I feel like are much more otherworldly. That's how I remember them, like the way that they kind of, it's just they have a much more otherworldly presence. Compared to like if I watch Lord of the Rings today, like they look very human.
Yeah, it's like a dude with some pointy ears.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, then I kind of forgot about it all, and I kind of, you know, like I kind of grew up and thought I was beyond all that, I guess, for a long time, and then I moved to America in 2007, and then it wasn't until 2012 that I started reading the folklore, from Ireland and the UK. So I was actually reading the stories of people who said that they'd seen fairies. And then that coincided with hearing about the Mohegan tribe and how they had a private housing development was trying to build like a complex on top of Mohegan Hill, which is sort of sacred land for the Mohegans. And so they stopped the housing development from building it because they kind of through the courts. And it was because the little people live under that hill. So that's how that was one of the reasons they wanted to stop it. So that just twigged in my mind, you know, American fairy folklore.
Yeah.
Which I had not really thought about before. And I think a lot of, like just the other day when I was in Millbrook, New York, selling New York fairies, and a man was like, looked at the book, and I was like, you don't really hear that much about fairies in America, do you? And he just was like, no, I would not think there was any fairy stories here in the US, but there are lots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's very interesting because I feel like we just had the same similar conversation with somebody on an episode recently where they were interested in something as a child, totally lost interest in it, and then something sparked it and brought it all back. It's like it's like the exact same story, and it just makes me, I don't know, curious in a lot of ways about how many times that happens to people, but also why, you know, like, why is that? Like, why is it that these things that we're really interested in as children, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like, but then we get lost and then it comes back. It's like it was always meant to be part of your life, but somehow it just gets put aside.
Yeah, I mean, I think that children are more in touch, right? With the magical, with fairy stories. I mean, a lot of fairy stories involve children, especially little people stories here in the United States. A lot of them involve the little people meeting children and kind of taking them underground and teaching them their ways and things like that. So yeah, I think as children, we just feel that magic much more, don't we? So, and then we grow up and we kind of forget it and we can get a little bit.
It gets beat out of us.
Gets beat out.
So
unfortunately.
So you have me intrigued here. What little people do we have taking kids underground here in America?
Well, I think I'm thinking actually of the Haudenosaunee, who some people know them as the Iroquois, the stone throwers. That's one tribe of little people that in their mythology, and because there are 3 different types of little people in their mythology. So those ones, that's one particular folk tale about a little girl who gets taken underground inside a rock, like through a rock. They open a door in a rock and then they go through it. And they stay with her she stays with them for a while, and they feed her. So I think they feed her like corn soup out of a pot that never empties, which is kind of a common motif in quite a lot of indigenous folklore, I think. And then they grant her 3 wishes, and they're very lovely wishes. It's like, oh, I want to see like the good in everybody. I want to always value my family, those types. So I can't remember the 3 wishes, but they're very like nice wishes, not like just give me gold.
Yeah.
Give me the gold.
She wasn't a selfish child.
She wasn't a selfish child, yes, exactly. But the three wishes, I don't know, that could be a European influence, who knows. But yeah, taking children underground, or children getting lost in the woods and like disappearing for a whole month. And then when they reappear, their family will sort of believe that they were kind of looked after by the little people. And if the little people hadn't come and like looked after them, something very bad might have happened to them.
Wow.
Okay. Well, that is interesting. You said that just the Iroquois themselves have three different versions, like three different types of little people or fairies.
Yeah, there's the stone throwers, which are the ones that are most commonly seen. And there are stories going back to, a long way about them. I think the earliest one is this might have been, I'll say the three tribes. It's the stone throwers. They get their name because they throw boulders.
I was getting ready to ask if that was a literal name. Yeah.
It is, yeah. And they also they leave like stone kind of utensils by the sides of lakes for the Haudenosaunee to find. Then there are the drum dancers, who are kind of nature spirits, who do things like paint the strawberry red in the summer, because the strawberry plant is sacred for the Iroquois. And then the other ones are the hunters, and they sort of serve a more kind of like protective role. So they kind of protect the Iroquois from these underworld kind of monsters that live underground. And the monsters, they're called the white buffalo. They're these giant buffalo. It's kind of interesting that they're white, because, there's that kind of like idea that they could, in one sense, be a metaphor for white people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the hunters, if these buffalo are trying to come up from underground, the little people will like fire arrows at them to stop them from coming up. And I think some of those stories have basis in like there are these salt licks. And there's one in Kentucky. A salt lick is this sort of marshy area that has a lot of salt in it. And mammals like buffalo would go and lick the earth to get salt.
Yeah.
And so lots of mastodon skeletons have been found in these salt licks. So it looks as if like some giant buffalo has been trying to rise.
Oh yeah. Like if they would have found their bones in the Salt Lick Marsh area. Yeah. Then they would have been like, this is some giant crazy monster.
Exactly.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
That's interesting.
Weird. So there are so many different kinds of fae creatures and different names for different things. Some of the ones I was writing down are puckwedgies, pixies, elves, banshees, goblins. What else? There's so many.
I have some glossaries at the back of my book. There's changelings. We could talk about changelings. There are some North American changeling stories. What else?
Is a troll considered a fae creature?
I guess I would probably not put a troll.
Not a troll
among fairies. Only because I think the Norse would have placed trolls among monsters. I think.
Yeah.
So it's more, whereas the fairies are not monsters, because we identify with them, and we can do things with them, like, we can learn healing skills from them, for instance, or we can you reproduce with fairies, I suppose. Whereas you can't imagine doing that with a troll, but.
Yeah, no thanks.
Another aspect of it, I guess, if you're going into the Norse history of it, will kind of be like the Tomte and the Nicae we talked about before, kind of like, I guess,
like fairy Norse fairies. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Because does a fae really constitute like them being a little person?
No, because the banshee is a full-sized. Is a full-sized humanoid, and then a lot of the Irish fairies are full-sized humanoid, the she. So yeah, no, not at all. But I feel like a lot of the stories in North America do seem to be about little people, but not all of them.
And are they all humanoid?
That's a good question. We have a troll in New England, if you wanted to talk about trolls. Obviously, that is not humanoid. What was the question again?
We were just talking about all the different types of fae creatures.
Yeah, you were asking if they all had to be humanoid.
Titles and do they need to be considered little people? Are they all humanoid?
So the banshee, I'd say, is probably the number one, the most common Irish fairy, and that's probably because the banshee becomes attached to an old Irish family. So the story's passed down through the generations within the family, whereas other encounters, there are other encounters with Irish full-size, adult-sized Irish fairies. But they wouldn't necessarily be passed down in the family because it doesn't become family law. So the banshee is full size. She's a beautiful woman. She's usually seen floating, and she wears white and with long kind of silver hair.
And that's the total opposite of what I think a lot of Americans might think of as a banshee. So I think the other idea of a banshee is this scary female spirit that screams and probably wants to kill you. That's totally different, right?
Well, yeah, because I think there might be an unfriendly banshee, but we'd have to ask someone who's, I don't know, Morgan Daimler, who writes about Irish fairies.
Yeah.
But the fairy the banshee that I know about is the friendly banshee, and that's the one that the Irish families kind of saw her as a woman who was empathizing with them and really mourning for their lost family member. So she was called a good woman, and she wasn't inflicting any harm.
But it was the mourning was the wailing.
The wailing, the keening.
Yeah, that's right. We had talked about that before.
And she is scary though. I mean, no one wants to hear the banshee. Because either you or your family member is going to die. Or actually, sometimes it's just a member of the community is going to die. You hear it. So I guess I can mention a couple of Pennsylvanian banshee encounters. So there's a man in Pittsburgh in the 1880s, and he heard the banshee outside his bedroom window, and it was 3 a.m, and it was a shriek, and he ran into the next room where he was boarding in a boarding house. There was a whole family that lived there, and he shook the guy awake, the son of the boarding, the landlady, and he was like, "I've heard the banshee. My time has come. It's gonna die." And he mentioned that most of his close family had died already, so it was only him and his sister left. This was a guy. What was his name? Charles Devoy. Yeah, Charles Devoy, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, so he barricaded himself in his room. He was terrified. He refused to do any work. It really affected him very badly. So yeah, the banshee is very scary.
And I imagine it could, especially if it started doing that before you received the news, right? It could be kind of seen as a harbinger, you hear the banshee and then you find out that someone has passed, right? I could see that being something that you wouldn't want to hear at that point. You don't want someone to bring you that news.
Right, exactly. She's definitely a harbinger, and fairies are often harbingers, it seems. So the banshee was apparently heard a lot in this little village called Lake Como in Pennsylvania in the 19th century. But I think by the 1940s, she was not really heard anymore. The reason people give for that is just that television. So as people started watching television and listening to the radio at home, they wouldn't tell stories as much.
Yeah.
So wouldn't sort of say, "Oh, that's the banshee," if they heard something, some wailing or shrieking outside.
Yeah, it's true.
That storytelling culture just kind of like died out, it seems, around the 1940s, 50s.
Yeah, it's the perfect time for that, radio and television. Yeah.
It also would have been a lot less quiet if you're listening to the radio or watching TV. You can't
wouldn't
hear the band.
Can't hear it. Oh yeah, I mean, just think like when we were worried about getting a hurricane here this week, and it looks like we're going to be okay. But when you get those storms and it knocks the power out, just how much more quiet neighborhoods are. Without everything going, it's like you can hear a pin drop. And yeah, like you said, I mean, we kind of have noise pollution now, so I don't know if you would, even if it was happening, if you would necessarily hear unless you happen to be out and about.
Right, and a lot of those Irish immigrants, they were probably being exposed to all kinds of sounds that they had not heard before, like coyotes. The sound of coyotes is so unique to America. Like I'd never heard anything like it until I lived in Quincy, Massachusetts, where we had like a wood next to our house. And one person in Lake Como describes the banshee very similarly to how I would probably describe coyotes, like many voices, some high, some low, and they're all kind of a cacophony, they go together. Anyway, that's more of a like naturalistic explanation.
Yeah,
and it can be kind of a boring explanation, can't it, really?
Yeah.
We had a question.
This could be a possibility too. Yeah.
From Alyson, are mermaids just fairies of the sea?
I would say so, yeah. That's a good way of putting it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not chicken of the sea, it's fairies of the
sea. Keep your tuna to yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense, and it's like, I guess some similarities with that. Like, well, not only do you have mermaids, but, you also have sirens.
Yeah, I was thinking of sirens too, all the way back to, like the Odyssey.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And kind of that trickiness, where they're luring you in to crash on the cliff rocks and stuff,
No, yeah, association with death, which is, kind of a very thing.
Yeah.
I think the story I told you last time I saw you, which I really love, is another harbinger story from like Pennsylvania, and it's just about a man who is sitting under a tree. And he'd finished his harvesting for the day. And then a woman comes up to him and said, and it's like, "Charlie, you haven't had your tea." And she offers him a cup of tea. And then he refuses it, but he thanks her because he's kind of just suspicious of who this woman is. She knows his name, and she's like, he suddenly comes out of nowhere. And and then she disappears. And that's the end of the story in the Pennsylvania story. But it's very similar to stories from Scotland, where a woman approaches a man and asks him if he'd like a cup of tea or some buttermilk or something like that. And then when the man refuses, she says something like, "Oh, well, this time next year you won't need the drink."
Oh.
So it's that harbinger thing about you're going to be dead within 12 months.
Should have just taken the tea, buddy.
Should have just taken the tea.
Well, there's a couple of ways we could go from this, but you mentioned Ireland earlier, and I would kick myself if I didn't ask about this. So the obvious thing that I think about when it comes to Ireland is the leprechaun. Is that, I know there might be some misconceptions, especially in America, about that. What can you tell us about the leprechaun specifically?
Well, I know the leprechaun as we see it, the little man in green, a green suit with, a bag of gold. And that's quite a modern, it's sort of the late 19th century. It's kind of a modern depiction. But it does have roots in a much older type of fairy that's similar to the leprechaun. But if we're talking about North America in particular, one thing I found interesting is in West Virginia, there are Irish families, sort of third generation, maybe Irish families who told stories about their ancestors actually befriending the leprechauns. So there's just stories like the leprechaun helped out one of their ancestors who her parents didn't want her to marry a certain man, so the leprechauns fed her parents this sort of magical bread, which kind of changed their mind so that they would let her marry the man she wanted to. So, and there are other ones about like a family who said that their ancestor was helped to escape from British soldiers by leprechauns, things like that. So that modern leprechaun, it did become very widespread. Like it became, and it was adopted very widely, it seems, and then all the way up to the 1940s, it was part of Irish culture, to that type of leprechaun, it seems. But the one thing I find interesting about American, sort of Irish Americans, is that their view of the fairies just seems to be a lot more positive than the Irish back home. So the Irish back home would do all kinds of things to ward off the fairies. Like they would put up kind of certain types of trees and boughs around their home to ward the fairies on certain nights of the year, like Halloween. Whereas Irish Americans just seem to, all the stories, well, not all of them, but a lot of the stories they tell seems to be about how the fairies helped one of their ancestors or just was good to them or blessed them. And I kind of like, because there's another story from West Virginia about like a woman who her something like her great-great-great-grandmother back in Ireland once kind of gave a fairy woman some bacon because this fairy woman came to her door and asked for food. And then in exchange, like the fairy kind of filled the pantry with corn. So corn was like a famine food during the famine. So the story obviously has some background in the Irish famine.
Yeah.
So it just seems I kind of wonder, is that because Irish Americans felt blessed and because they knew the country they'd come from after the famine, and they knew that their family had kind of survived and they were in this much more wealthy country. Like West
Maybe
Virginia
the West Virginia fairies are just way nicer than Irish fairies.
Possibly, yeah.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Yeah, it is interesting to think about that. Yeah,
it is
because the Irish have notoriously over the course of their history had a lot of rough, hard times. Yeah. So yeah, maybe being able to come to a different place where they have different opportunities.
Hard times.
Change their outlook on the fairy too.
That's what I wonder, Yeah, I sort of, yeah, for sure. But then I don't know, because other ones like, there's a story about a mill worker in northern Rhode Island, and she talks about the banshee, seeing the banshee, and she's very much, they were coming over the bridge into her village, and they were very scary. She seemed to find them quite scary. So yeah. it's not all roses and,
Yeah, it's difficult too, because actually, I'm kind of a historian in early American history. So, it's kind of a difficult question to answer. Like you've actually kind of, to look into it more, but, like the Irish weren't very well accepted in America. And so they didn't have the easiest go of it, even leaving, the troubles they had in Ireland. It wasn't really easy going when they came to America either. So I don't know. It is interesting how that over time, changes though, for sure. And that there can be such a negative aspect of it, but then at the same time, it's in a lot of ways, even though it's been kind of, I guess, commercialized, there's a lot more positive attributes to them now, I guess, than there used to be.
Yeah, I think so. Well, and one example we can see is that today when people see fairies, which, I get people who come up to me all the time at events and tell me about their fairy encounters. They show me photos on their phones of like their fairies they've taken photos of. And the most common story is not little people. It's like glowing orbs, which they would, I guess they describe them as fairies. Sometimes they'll hear giggling, like that seems to be kind of common. And that gives the idea of intelligence, right? So, and those orbs, they can be like blue, white, green, floating orbs, often on the edges of woodlands.
Like a
These,
wisp.
yeah, like a will-o'-the-wisp, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But the difference is that these experiences seem to be more positive, and it's almost like it's an encounter with the fairies that is kind of uplifting. Whereas I feel like will-o'-the-wisps were usually more dangerous in the olden
They're like
days.
luring them to some doom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a watery death or whatever. But,
Yeah, it seemed like in a lot of the original ideas of fairies, there could be some positive attributes to it,
yeah,
but you were always kind of playing with fire, so to speak.
yeah,
Is that
exactly.
kind of right? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The positive would be like teaching healing. So that's something I come up a lot in my book that I've just written, Fairies of Northern Appalachia, because there were a lot of healers in Appalachia. You know, faith healers and herbal. It's kind of witchery, white magic kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And that tradition, obviously, it was brought over from the British Isles and Ireland. And in the British Isles, especially like Wales and Scotland, you had like healers who said that they learned these healing powers from the fairies. So obviously there was some positive attitude towards the fairies, that they were a source of magical healing. And you see that kind of coming over to Appalachia, but it does get transformed. So, for instance, well, not just Appalachia, New York as well. So the fairies are kind of like, I don't know, there's a lot. The fairies, for instance, there's a folk tale called the Witchy Folk, which is a description of like what it seems to be fairies living in the woods in West Virginia. But it's actually a version of an old folk tale that goes back to Scotland.
Oh, wow.
But rather than being called fairies in the story, the West Virginians called them the Witchy Folk. So, and they had like thatchy red hair. They had this magical healing ability. So they could heal people just by laying their hands on them. So as that idea of fairies as the source of healing kind of came over to the North America, it got transformed somewhat. And so, for instance, wouldn't always call them fairies. They'd call them something else, like witchy folk. Just because, like, people in North America have often not wanted to believe in fairies, although my books kind of show that fairy belief is all over the place. It's definitely not. It's not kind of ubiquitous. It's not everywhere.
No.
Yeah.
A matter of fact, so, when it's like, oh, we're going to have Andrew and we're going to talk about fairies, I think the thing that pops in my head first is the photographs that were taken in England. Like, that's kind of like, when I think about, we're going to talk about fairies, that's what pops in my head. Probably Great Britain is the first kind of thing I think of, Ireland with fairies. But yeah, I mean, we do definitely have the lore here as well. I'm interested in what you came across doing Northern Appalachia, because I think that region is a little bit different than New York and New England in terms of like they have what they call the mountain witches. Because there's a little bit more kind of witchy things that settlers do in the mountains than they could say in New England at the time with Puritan kind of stuff going on. Did you find that there was more of that stuff in the Appalachians, or was it the same? What did you find in your research there?
There is, and there was more for sure. Yeah, because they remained isolated. And it was the Scots-Irish who came over to Appalachia, and they brought a lot of like fairy stories and beliefs and things. But again, it's sporadic. Like, for some reason, fairy lore just like didn't survive wholesale when it came to North America. It survived in very local forms. So all over the U.S., like you have like Marblehead, Massachusetts, and that was, you had a lot of Cornish fishermen go there. So there are a lot of like pixie stories from that area, but you won't find that many pixie stories elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then there are the mines, like in Appalachia. You do actually find pixie stories in there, but they're kind of knockers, Tommy knockers.
Mhm.
So that's very local to that place. And then you go down south to like the Cumberland Mountains in Kentucky, and you get a lot of like Scots-Irish fairy stories. But yeah, beyond those communities, it's like it was never widespread. It was sort of just specific to these places.
Likewise.
It's interesting because we have a guest on quite often named Robert Beto, and he does a podcast called Mexico Unexplained.
Okay.
And in Mexico, that's the way all of their lore is. Like every paranormal, supernatural thing is very localized to these different little places in Mexico, and they each have their own things, but none of them, like, they don't know each other's things.
Right.
So that's very much reminds me of that there's like these little pockets of places where fairy lore has been kind of kept up, or like families that have stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the United States, I definitely would say it's not, and not everybody's got it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
And they definitely in Mexico have their fairies as well, like for sure.
Yeah, I
like,
don't know much about it, but I've heard that.
Yeah, it's very because we were talking about last time, and he was like, it's kind of like a puck wedgie, and Robert was like, yeah, very much in the same vein. Yeah, you guys, maybe we can exchange information. Maybe you guys can talk sometime. Yeah.
C had a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
He said, how do we work with fairies if they are interested? And are there any watch outs?
Oh, what's a watch out?
Like, don't do that. Watch out. Don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, there are different, I guess, like, it depends what your approach is. If you're like, I guess, like, we talked about the witches, granny witches in Appalachia. That might be.
I don't know what that is, but the name of it, I love it already.
Well, I don't know. It's like they would approach fairies very differently from, say, like a ceremonial magician. Like in the Renaissance, people did try to invoke the fairy queen as part of ritual, and they, I guess, would always use protective circles and sigils and things like that and they would be really controlling the fairy queen. So they would invoke her. I don't like that.
Sounds like a watch out. Like, don't do that.
Oh, no, but I mean, those magicians believed that she would do all kinds of things for them, like turn them invisible and bring them love and luck. But they were more powerful than the fairy queen only through the magic. Because otherwise, if you step outside that circle, the fairy queen, it's just, she can do horrible things to you.
Yeah. And she should if they're trying to control her.
Well, so I don't know. I don't work with fairies myself. Like, I don't do rituals, but there's plenty of sources out there that can tell you how fairy witchcraft and things like that. I prefer. I mean, I think, if I was to interact with fairies, I would just leave it as like leaving them offerings for good luck, or wearing, we talked earlier about our fairy stones. I wear a fairy stone for luck, or I might wear a pixie stone.
We both got fairy stones from Fairy Stone State Park.
Yeah, so and they're pretty much the same.
Yeah,
they are.
Cross.
So if the fairies made these, which is the legend, then we're protected by the fairies.
There you go. Well, that leads into the next question. I was telling you before we came on tonight that I had started coming across things in my feed as you were coming up, and I got this on the Witching Hours Facebook feed. It said someone had posted, "Let's just hypothetically say you accidentally pissed off a fairy. What kind of peace offering would you make in this situation?" And then it was like the person was kind of doing the sweaty smile. So someone's pissed off a fairy. What traditionally would be the lore for how you make amends there?
Make amends? I don't know. Like, they love cream. Leave some nice. They used to sell that yogurt. I used to love it. It was this maple yogurt with like a cream top. It was like really good, and it had a thick layer of cream on the top. You could buy it. Brown Cow, I think it was called. Get some of that, scoop off the cream, put it in a bowl. Then you'll be right as rain. No, but I'm trying to think if there are any other kind of traditional examples where it's like people made amends.
I have heard before that to never give a fairy a gift.
Yeah, so there are fairies that would live in your home and kind of do chores for you in the night 'cause they love working.
Mhm.
And then if you give them and because these types of fairies like brownies and things like that or hobs, they would often wear rags. And if you give them new clothes, because
Yeah.
you think it's nice for them, right? But they
Yeah.
actually they don't like it and they'll take off and you won't
Yeah.
see them again. So
Dobby,
don't
with the
give Dobby a
socks.
sock. Yeah.
don't do that. Don't give them.
All right. So real quick, we have reached the top of the hour. It is 9:00 if you're watching us live on the East Coast. So welcome in everyone. If you've joined us since the beginning, our guest tonight is Andrew Warburton, and we are talking about fairies. If you would like, you can check out fairiesofnewengland.com, and you can find all the books there that Andrew has written out, Fairies of New England and Fairies of New York. And if you have questions, we have about another 30 minutes left tonight. So if you have questions for Andrew, please feel free to put those in chat, whether you're joining us live on Facebook or whether you're over on Twitch. And let us know, and we will get those questions across to Andrew as we continue along tonight. If you are watching the show or hanging out with us now, then you already know Medium Jenny Lee. But did you know you can book a private session, explore her spiritual services, or check out her latest content all in one place? Head over to mediumjennylee.com. Whether you're seeking guidance, answers from beyond, or just curious about what the spirit world has to say, Jenny offers personal readings, mentorship, and more. Don't miss your chance to connect directly. Visit mediumjennylee.com and take the next step on your spiritual journey. Your journey to the weird is just a click away.
So you were talking about how you have written the Appalachian Fairy book.
Yeah.
Is it done?
It's all done and it's in production phase. Yeah, I know. I really want to like have some events down there, like maybe in Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky. Because I focus quite a bit in the book on Letcher County, which is a county in the very east of Kentucky with the Cumberland Mountains, like looking over it. And there's just like a lot of very old stories from there about like proper encounters too, like a man whose horse was shot by the fairies.
Oh,
yeah, he's like a postman, Tom Fields, and he went back and found the fairy arrowhead that had actually hit his horse, and he kept it like as a magical charm for the rest of his life, I guess.
Wow.
So yeah. So there are other stories from that kind of whole area. So yeah, I want to do some events there if I can.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
People
Well, that's
can
big.
hear the legends of their
Although
area.
There's a part of me that's like, it's the Bible Belt, right? And I don't know. When I went there and I talked to people, I told them that I was researching fairy lore, and I told them about the old stories. And I think the latest point that I could trace those stories being collected up to was the 1990s by a kind of a professor at a community college in Virginia. He went and found some Letcher County fairy stories. So obviously that tradition went up to about the 1990s, but no one at this place where I went knew anything about fairies. There was like an elderly patron there, and the genealogist of the town, of the library there, and like she was the city genealogist, but she'd not heard any fairy stories.
Wow.
So I think maybe it was residual, like only a few. It kind of died out over the 20th century, these stories. But
It'd be interesting. That's big Bigfoot country there.
Okay.
We have a friend, Charlie Raymond, who does a lot of paranormal, like Bigfoot kind of events there. I'd be curious at somewhere like that if there aren't more people who, for what's going on more in more modern times. If that oral tradition kind of continued, or whether it kind of has died off there.
I know, yeah. I wonder too, because if the stories were collected in the 1990s, then you'd think that there would still be people alive today in Letcher County who remember.
I'm still around. Yeah. Some
I
of us
think
are still
that'll-
kicking around.
I think that'll be really good though, because you've
Mhm.
collected these stories that have gotten lost. And then
Yeah.
the people that live there can kind of rediscover them. I
Well,
think
that's what that would be
Yeah.
really nice to go to the library where I
Mhm.
went and do a talk and see if many people.
Yeah.
I
I
just
think
don't, I
that would be
don't know.
great.
When I said that it was like the Bible Belt, I'm just like, do people not like supernatural stories in the Bible Belt? I don't know, really. I mean,
I think
Yeah.
that we're just seeing a resurgence of all of these types of going back to
Mhm.
our roots of
Yeah.
shamanic and tribal and more natural things. Like people are being more drawn to that
right. Yeah.
in bigger numbers. So I think that you're in the right time for this. Yeah.
And like I said, that's why I kind of brought up, Charlie, there's a pretty big, Bigfoot, there's like a lot of big events they have there for that. I imagine if you're
Mhm.
willing to learn about Bigfoot, you'd be willing to hear about some fairies
Yeah,
as well.
right.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then
To
Alyson
be honest, you
said,
could probably draw some comparisons there.
Alyson said maybe Bigfoot is just a big hairy fairy.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
I have been asked that question before. Is Bigfoot a fairy? And I mean, it's categorizing beings. It's difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're all interdimensional beings. They're all, I don't know.
Well, it all
Really-
depends because
I like thinking about Bigfoot as a hairy
A big
fairy. That's
hairy
pretty
fairy.
fun, though.
Harry Fairy. We'll just start calling him. That'll be the new nickname, the Harry Fairy. The Harry Fairy Con,
That's Andrew's. That'll be Andrew's next
Yeah,
book.
there we go, Andrew. We'll start working on that. The Harry Fairy.
The big hairy fairy.
Some researchers are very much of the idea that this is some kind of ape humanoid creature, biological, that has gone undiscovered.
Right.
And then it goes all the way to it is an interdimensional creature that can come in and out of our plane of existence.
Right.
And if you're looking at the latter, that probably is a little bit more related to fairy and the fey realm.
Yeah, I would say just because they've not really found many, they haven't found bones and like evidence. Surely it would have to be an interdimensional being, wouldn't it?
You would think so. Yeah.
But then there's a big debate within the history of fairy folklore, like are fairies embodied or are they spirits?
Mhm.
And it's not really ever been decided like adequately, like it definitively.
Yeah.
And like, because if they have bodies, do they have bodies that are that can turn into a kind of gaseous substance? And because they can move through keyholes,
Mhm.
And so, but if they're just pure spirits, well, the fact that they're not, fairies can't just be like beings that live in our world purely, right?
Mhm.
Because if they were, they would just be like animals and we'd see them all the time.
Yeah.
But we don't see them very often. So
Mhm.
they must be, they obviously exist in our world, but they also must exist in some other world as well. Or they would just be like everyday.
Like a
thing,
different plane.
of existence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I also thought it was interesting. One of my favorite representations of fairies, I think, was in the movie Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh, yeah.
And there's like at the very beginning, there's like a fairy, but it's a dragonfly. But then it kind of keeps kind of moving, like it'll be a dragon. If I remember the movie correctly, it starts as dragonfly, and then you realize that it's actually a fairy at one point in time. And so it's like kind of morphing back and forth between these kind of shapes.
Well, right.
which
So
are-
it makes me wonder when the Scots-Irish and the English came over and they saw the American fireflies, so they're just like, oh my God, there are fairies everywhere. So
Yeah. Yeah. The dragonfly is
no, the fireflies.
Oh, the
'Cause
firefly. Oh,
never
yeah.
seen-
The fireflies.
I've never seen fireflies in the UK that I remember. There are glowworms sometimes where you see a little worm that glows on its tail.
Firefly.
But fireflies was a whole new thing for me. Like,
Oh,
it was
wow.
just beautiful. Yeah. And
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah,
it could be like little fairies.
yeah, that's
Some-
true.
some of the descriptions that people say, like someone the other day told me that, shout out if she's listening, because it was on like Facebook, but she told me that she was driving through the Avenue of the Pines in Saratoga Spa Park, and she saw her car. She stopped in her car and she saw all these blue lights surrounding her, and she heard a giggle. So she interpreted it as fairies. But sometimes I do think, oh, it sounds a bit like fireflies.
You know, if there's a place in North Carolina, just one small area where they have blue fireflies.
Oh, why? What color? I thought fireflies were like blue. They're white. So
they're usually like a whitish or yellowish.
They're kind of green
color.
here. Yeah.
Oh, they're green.
Yeah.
We kind of get a little bit of a green color. But we actually talked about this before. We had a news story actually about the ghost. It's called like a ghost firefly. They're in the mountains in North Carolina. There's like the Southern Appalachians. And there's one small geographical region in the mountains near like, what is it? Is it Asheville, North Carolina?
I think,
in the woods there, you can take tours you basically go out and try to see if you can find any ghost fireflies that are blue. The ones that we have around here usually are like a yellowish green color. But we were researching that, and it turns out that there are different kinds of fireflies all over the world, and many have like different kinds of colors. So it was pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only ever seen them in New York, but I cannot remember what color they were.
Yeah.
Denise over on Facebook said, I had a friend a long time ago here in Colorado that had fairy stories, but I think her parents were raised in West Virginia, so that makes sense.
Definitely, yeah. For sure.
Taking it out to Colorado there. I wanted to know, what is some of the oldest fairy stories that you've collected?
In America?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's the Puritans didn't generally believe in fairies. Apparently they came from like the southeast of England a lot of the time, and fairy belief had sort of died out there. But there is a story that was collected about the little fairy footprints beside a creek or a brook in New Hampshire. The town I think was called Campton. And so the story was collected, I think, towards the end of the 19th century, but then it was republished again in 1945, which is the form that you'll find it in the book. But so it was about a little boy who went down to a stream and he saw like these footprints. And well, he saw the creature. He said he saw a beautiful creature. And then he ran back to his family and told them. And they went down into the brook and they looked at these footprints and they saw that it was about the size of a baby's foot. So that story I traced back to 1810, which is that's not the earliest. There's another one from like
babies usually aren't just walking around creeks by themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a fairy. Well, and so then there was, I don't know, there's another story about the Musconetcong River, which is in New Jersey. I think that might be the earliest American fairy story. It was from like I can't remember. It was from the 18th century.
I guess some of those Native American ones are probably
those are really old. Yeah.
So they probably go back hundreds and hundreds of
years. But then there are the pixie stories from Marblehead go back to like, I think the 1740s.
Wow.
And then Appalachia, I mean, you don't know how old they are because they were kind of recorded much later, but the stories must have gone back to when the Scots-Irish first arrived.
Yeah.
So the early 1700s, I think.
Yeah, and if you're talking about the Iroquois ones you were talking about earlier, you're probably going back even further. Like, who knows how far back some of those go.
Yeah, and there's a story from, I think, the 1600s, which was these 4 Jesuit priests coming down the Hudson River. They were coming down to preach to the Mohawks, and they were with some Mohawk guides. And the Mohawk men started collecting stones from beside, it wasn't the Hudson River, it was Lake Champlain. They collecting these flints from the side of Lake Champlain, and they said it was the little people who'd given them these flints or left the flints for them. So that's a 1600 story. And then I know that when some people came in the 1700s, like the 1770s maybe, and they found like Cherokee arrowheads, and they said, oh, these are just like the old arrows that people back in Ireland called like elf stones or fairy stones, because they would find these Neolithic arrowheads, and they thought they were the fairies' arrows. Well, I
Wow.
guess the same thing happened in Appalachia when they found these arrows.
Neat.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. It's like a way to explain things that are popping up out of nowhere. Like, where are these things coming from,
Yeah.
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 Actually, there's like a whole tradition of like ancient Appalachian pygmies. Did you know that? Like,
No.
Yeah. So
What are those?
In Tennessee, in Eastern Kentucky, Ohio, North Carolina, there are many stories of people finding pygmy-sized skeletons.
Oh.
And then saying that an ancient pygmy race lived all over Appalachia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was local, but like,
That's
and
interesting.
then they said that these pygmies like lived before the mound builders, because all around there you have these indigenous ceremonial mounds or burial mounds. So they said that these pygmies must have lived before the people who built those mounds. But I mean, all these skeletons were not pygmy skeletons. They were like children's skeletons. But I think local farmers who found these sorts of, it would have been like graves that were kind of small, and they made it look like they belonged to pygmies. So these farmers sort of in Tennessee really came to believe that pygmies had once lived all around in North America.
That's really interesting, because you were talking about that, but then there's also like the mythology down through Kentucky and Ohio there about the giants, of course, who were all the giant graves that were found along the Ohio River. So yeah, both aspects there, the little people and the really big people. Yeah, was it the like 10 feet tall, two rows of teeth? Yeah.
Really? I didn't know this. Is it real? I mean, what did they find really?
Well, a lot of it is sources from people who say that they dug them up, and then kind of the problem with that is that they would report them. They would say that people came out to study them, and then from most of the stories, most of them are taken and hurried away to the Smithsonian,
where they're never seen again.
Never seen from again.
Yeah.
Well, my theory that I kind of write about in the Fairies of Northern Appalachia book is just that the willingness of Appalachian people to believe that a pygmy race lived in Appalachia can be kind of put down to the fairy folklore that they were educated in. So, they just, it came naturally to them to sort of believe that, I think, as, where they came from.
Yeah, which would make more sense, Jenny, because I was thinking about like if we have any big, fairy beliefs in our area, and we're in Virginia, but we're a little bit away from the mountains now, so we're in more of a, I guess historically it was more regular British, not so much Scotch Irish and stuff that's settled in this area. Yeah. And I don't know that we really that I know of, have a lot of fairy folklore in this general area.
Not that I know of.
Are you near the Chesapeake Bay?
We are. We're somewhat close by, yeah.
So that strip of land there, I would have included it in my book, but what is that strip of land called?
The Eastern Shore?
Yeah, so there is fairy lore from there. So there's a story about a little black dwarf that kind of, I can't remember the story, but so I'll have to let you know, but and it was described by a particular folklorist from back in the 19th century as being the only place where they saw this kind of fairy lore. But that's a bit of a suspect claim, because, Appalachia's right there to the west. I don't know. But so there is from there, but I'd have to let you know what it is.
Yeah, that's interesting, because you get a big division in Virginia of like where settlers came, because you kind of had the English settlers and the Virginia Company and stuff like that kind of come into the tidewater area and into like the middle of the state. But then once you got to the mountains, you know, the plantation farming didn't happen. And so you had a lot of the Scotch Irish and people like that kind of move into the mountains. So it was a very different culture, kind of split by the natural geography of where people settled.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, that is interesting. Well, I have another question for you. So you have a new book that we just talked about that's coming out, but I am curious for your goals in the future. Do you have any ideas of other places that you would like to kind of research and look into?
Well, I'd like to like write a whole history of American fairy folklore. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Like book a whole book.
Yes.
So
just
I mean,
keep going.
Yeah, just keep going. There's like fairies of Southern Appalachia, but I feel like maybe that should go to someone else who lives down there. That would be good too. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I guess other people should probably take up the mantle, right? Like fairies of California or there's, you know, a lot of Tommyknockers out there.
Well, I don't know if somebody else needs to do it. You just keep going.
Yeah, just keep going.
You got plenty of time, Andrew.
That means I have to fly across the United States to like. I'd have to go to Utah probably because like there's all these Tommyknocker stories there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
What a shame.
Well, the trouble is that I'm not working with a publisher that pays for air travel.
Yeah,
well, you never know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else? I don't know. I have other interests. Like I'm very fascinated by the crossover between the old world and the new world. That's just something that really interests me. The culture clash, but also fusion. So this is probably not going to interest many people, but I wrote an article about this Prince Edward, who was, I think, Queen Victoria's father. And he was the first member of the British royal family to travel through New England. Because he was the governor of Quebec, and he like traveled down through Vermont, and you can like trace his journey down through, and he ended up in Boston, and it was like 1794. So that's something that interests me too. Just because it's such incongruous, isn't it? To have like a member of the British royal family traveling through like 1790s revolutionary America.
Yeah.
And in the same way, like fairies are a little bit incongruous, but kind of not as at the same time because there's such a connection, you know, between the old world and here.
Yeah. And it's interesting, you know, the connections between that and America too, because America specifically, like while it fiercely loves its independence and its separation from Europe, I also feel like there's this big desire for it to reconnect to Europe for people of European descent, you know?
Yeah.
So there's like, it's kind of like this dance that happens of like, we're American, we're not European, but then also like somewhere it's in the DNA of like, my people came from here. And so like there's just kind of desire to reconnect somehow and to have those old traditions, especially more lately.
I hope with the books that maybe I can like contribute to that a little bit, you know, people remembering some of their ancestors' lore.
Yeah,
that kind
absolutely.
Of thing. Yeah.
Well, I just want to give a shout out to Thomas Gormley here in the chat over on Facebook. He's, you know, Paracon. That's where we were together last time.
Hi. Thank you to him.
Another weirdo in chat. Yeah. All the weirdos.
CMC has a question. So that reminded me that the Appalachia is very much like the Australian Blue Mountains. Do you know of any fairy stories or folklore from that area?
I have no idea. Oh, well, I mean, I do from the Pennsylvanian Blue Mountains, but not from I don't know the Australian.
Yeah.
That's his next book. Fairies of Australia.
I thought it was the big hairy fairy of Kentucky.
That's my next one, the big hairy fairy.
Well, I mean, you got to imagine because Australia was started as a penal colony, right? You know, from Great Britain.
There's got to be fairy lore.
And the Aboriginal people, I'm sure, have some sort of stories about.
I'm sure
in fairy type of creatures. Yeah,
penal colonies are probably lots of Scots and Irish, and they also probably brought those. That would be interesting.
Yeah,
that is curious.
Well, if Andrew can't get a plane ticket to California. He sure is selling in a plane ticket to Australia.
Australia. That is so true. I think I would like to do a Western United States.
Yeah.
You know, like
Mhm.
because like I did find quite a lot of like Mayan pixie fairy stories just in Pennsylvania. So there's even more out there. So yeah, I would totally like to do that.
Yeah, I think you could find them. I think you can find them pretty much anywhere.
Mhm.
Thomas wanted to make sure that everybody
Yeah.
comes to see Andrew in person at the Salem Paracon on November 15th.
Yes. Yeah, I can't wait. Are you two going to be there, or you're not
No,
going to be there for that one?
we won't be there for that one. No.
Not this
Yeah.
time. Maybe next time.
Yeah,
Have you ever been to Salem?
we have.
But we need a more official
It
introduction
was
to
a
Salem.
very quick
Right.
trip.
Yeah, we visited
Yeah.
my dad in Maine.
Okay.
And on our trip back home, we were like, if we go a little bit out of our way, we can kind of hit Salem and say we've been there. So we went to Salem and we went to like the little garden there where they have like the memorial for the
Yeah.
witches there.
On the old burying ground cemetery. Yeah.
And so we checked that out. I need to do more investigation though, because I have family from Salem.
Oh, wow.
The Clark family, which was actually involved in the witch trials. So
So you are related to people who
Mhm.
were connected.
My
So-
grandfather was from Hyannisport, Massachusetts, and so he always told me he's passed now, but he always told me if I wanted to research that side of the family to go to the Salem courthouse.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
You need Sam
So-
Baltrusis to show you around. Salem.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Sam.
yeah.
Sam.
Where are
There we
you?
go. Yeah.
But Denise would like for you to make sure
Oh,
if you make it out west, make sure you stop in Colorado.
Yeah, for sure. There'll be Tommy knockers in Colorado, I reckon. I don't know what else, but I'll find them if they're there.
So Priestess thinks we're related now.
Uh-oh. And that's CMC's surname too. I think you and CMC are
Yeah,
related
we've
to
talked
each
about
other.
that before. We probably
Yeah.
need to get together one night and just kind of look through our trees
Yeah.
and stuff and figure it out. So
From Massachusetts. He's
Yeah.
that's his surname, from
I
Massachusetts.
got a little bit of Yankee in my family tree. So.
All right, so we got a few more minutes left.
Yeah.
One more time, where can people find you and your books, and what do you have coming up?
Okay, so fairiesofnewengland.com is my website. The books are in Barnes & Noble, on Amazon, and lots of independent bookstores, obviously. And then coming up, Salem Paracon on November 15th. I'm going to be at the Hollow Paracon with Sam Baltrusis on October 4th. So that's this coming Saturday. I think.
Saturday, yeah.
Saturday.
Mhm. Yep.
So he'll be doing a talk, and we'll both be selling books. Like, we're becoming quite a team again. Actually.
Yeah,
It's kind of
yeah.
like- we
You
used
guys
to be
are
a
a
team.
fun team together.
When he was putting his books together the first time, I did lots of research with him, and it was so much fun. But we also had big arguments about no, you can't put this in, and where's the ghost, and what's this? But then now we're becoming quite a team again at Paracons, and he's invited me along, and I managed to sell loads of books, so that's good.
It's wonderful.
And then what else? And then Fairies of Northern Appalachia next year. Want to try and get down to Pennsylvania and Kentucky, Virginia again. And then I have to think about what my next book will be.
So do you have a date that the Appalachian book might be coming out?
No, they haven't said yet.
Okay, but it'll be next year sometime.
It's probably going to be July-ish, probably,
Okay.
or maybe earlier because I got it in early, so it could be the spring. But yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Excellent.
Well, if you come down to Virginia, let us know.
Yeah, I will. Yeah,
I know we're going to be up in Gettysburg with Sam in just
that's
Yeah.
right.
in 2 weeks. So
2 weeks.
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
No,
You're not going to be at that one, are you?
No, I'm not. That's going to be a lot of fun. Well, because if I was coming, I'd be driving, and I do so much driving, and my car is going to fall apart. any day.
Leave some cream out for the fairies.
Yeah,
Ask them to
there you
fix
go.
it for you.
Excellent. All right. Well, for all of you who are listening, at another time and another place, we will see you all next time.